Hi, this is Kathy Goodwin, and today we're going to talk about tip number 4 in our Midlife Career Strategy series. Jobs come in 5 flavors. So what do I mean? Well, summer's coming, and that means ice cream for many of us. Ice cream comes in flavors. You know that. Did you know that jobs come in flavors too? We're going to look at some. But first, what's not a flavor? Well, I'm not talking about people who say, oh, that's just a job. Put in your time and go home. There's nothing you can do. You're lucky to have a job. I'm talking about being proactive, setting goals, and really being oriented to a career that's satisfying in any of these flavors, and using one of these flavors we're going to talk about to get to where you want to be. So let's look at job flavor number 1, which is the PERCH job. The idea is to bring in money while you're waiting for your real career. It's sort of grab what you can so you can hold things together while you look around for what you really want and what you really want to do. The analogy is like a bird sitting on a wire. They're traveling south or north for their seasonal migration or returning back after the winter is over, and they're perching on a wire. They don't really have any ego invested in where they are. They don't intend to stick around very long. They're just hanging out until they can recover their strength and go on to the next place, their real destination. There's no ego involved. If you find yourself getting caught up in the politics or advancement in a PERCH job, then you have to take a look at whether it's still really a PERCH job or whether it's morphed into something else. And it better not consume you, because a PERCH job is something that, again, you're not hoping to stay there for a long time. So if you find yourself getting emotionally involved in this job, or you find yourself spending huge amounts of time and energy, then really think about whether this has changed from a PERCH job to something else, or maybe you need a different PERCH job. Job flavor number 2 is a bridge job. A bridge job helps you span from the old to the new, just like a bridge helps you go from one place to another. It opens doors to something new. There's less ego involved than there is when you reach your destination, because you're really kind of trying out what the real thing is going to be. By way of an analogy or an example, when I was working many years ago, I was just looking for a job. I was between jobs, and I found this very small offbeat university in the Bay Area. So I applied to teach there, and I had done some teaching in junior colleges before. I applied, and they welcomed me. I started teaching, discovered I loved teaching. And at first, this job had been a PERCH job. It paid the bills while I decided what to do, got my bearings together. And then it became a bridge, because I was able to use that job as a bridge to go back and get a PhD and teach, and then really get into the field a little bit at a time. Job flavor number 3 is a loss leader job. That means it pays little, but it opens the door to make a lot more. For example, university professors do make good money in the business school and the law school, and they can make even more money when they're consulting or being expert witnesses. Those in the liberal arts, mathematics, or in psychology and some of the social sciences often don't make that much in a university, although they do make decent salaries. The days of starving professors are mostly gone, but they can augment their income in ways that are available only because they hold that professorship at that university. So they're invited to take on consulting projects, be expert witnesses, and do things that bring in real money. Journalists are another example. In fact, I was talking to a journalist recently who was telling me somewhat apologetically about her job writing for a neighborhood weekly. Well, she said, it doesn't really pay that much, but I get these little perks. And I'm like, well, yeah, but look what's happened. While she's writing for this neighborhood weekly, she's getting invited to take on major writing gigs that pay extremely well. She's even been invited to work on copywriting projects, on writing content for websites, all kinds of things that pay really well. And she would not have gotten those gigs if people hadn't been able to see her work showcased as a journalist on this weekly paper. WNBA players, we don't think of them as being in loss leader jobs, but the women basketball players don't earn what the men do. The men get multi-million-dollar contracts, and the women get, I think they're capped out at around $100,000. It's for 5 months, and out of that they have to pay their agents and their trainers and all kinds of people. So a lot of them are doing this because the love of the game, but they also have opportunities. If you're a WNBA player, you have the publicity, the credibility, the star power. They get invited to appear in commercials for money. Some of them have gotten parts in movies, usually small parts, for money. Some of them get teaching gigs for money. And all of these opportunities are available because they're playing in the WNBA. So the WNBA gives them credibility to go out and do things that bring in very lucrative incomes. Then we have job flavor 4, a career job. This is what a lot of people have and enjoy. It's satisfying work with a path to follow. So it might be a corporate job where you're working for advancement, you're enjoying what you do, but within that organization you have a path and a career path, and it could be having your own business. It could be military jobs tend to follow this pattern where the focus is on advancing in your career, and that in itself is rewarding and satisfying. Those jobs offer growth, challenge, and skills. The idea is you can often build your skill set, you can grow as a person and as a professional, and you're challenged enough. If you like these types of jobs and the type of job you're in, you're challenged enough to want to stay motivated, you to want to be there a long time. These jobs give you income and status. Sometimes the status is just within the organization, but it's still status. If you have a career type job and you're not getting income and status, then you may not be in a career job. It may be something else, or it may be time to look for something else. And these types of jobs can consume you. They can be very demanding in terms of hours put in terms of emotional energy. They can be very, very consuming. Someone asked General Claudia Kennedy, who is the first 3-star general in the U.S. Army, who is a woman, who said, balance? I don't have balance. They had asked her how she achieves balance in her life, and she said, I don't. You can't have balance in this kind of job. It's all consuming. Then we have vocation jobs, and I want to emphasize this is not the be-all and end-all. This is just a type of job that it's important for you to realize that you are in this type of job. If you are, it offers purpose, meaning, and passion. It's sometimes felt as a calling. Sometimes we say it's in alignment with who you are, with your values. Often it comes after a career job. You'll hear people say, I made my money, I got my status, and now I'm ready to do something. But I want to emphasize that a vocation job does not always mean that you take a pay cut. Sometimes you actually make more money. For example, I know people who went from working in the corporate world to working at a university and actually got more money because of the way the jobs were structured and the ways they were able to earn extra income. I know a dog walker who actually makes more money than she did in her previous corporate type job. She said she loves her work. She has people working for her. She's got really good business sense. She knows how to really generate leads and increase her business. She's got more clients than she can handle. So a vocation job does not have to be a job where you take a pay cut, although it often is. What's clear is that you are in that job because it's a passion and you love it. I mean, it's meaningful to you. And I want to emphasize that flavors don't come in order. A flavor may change before you come to the end of the cone. For instance, a PERCH job can become a bridge job, as I mentioned in my example. A vocation type job could just morph into a career. You take it because it's meaningful and you really care about it. It's aligned with your values. And then you realize after a while you're really caught up in the organization. And what this job means to you now is not the pursuit of values. It's really about getting the next promotion and getting status within the organization. And your own meaning of that job has changed. And finally, the lost leader job can become a PERCH job because you realize, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe you can't play basketball anymore. Maybe you have an injury and you say, okay, now it's a PERCH job. I'm hanging in till the end of the season for whatever amount of time I can handle it. and then I'll go do something else, because then it's just a place you're hanging in to hold things together until you can move on. If you'd like to discuss your own situation in more detail, please come to my site, midlifecareerstrategy.com. And you can read my ebook at the midlifecareerstrategy.com/21days.html, or we can set up a session where we'll discuss your career situation, what type of job you're in. Maybe you think you're in one kind, and when we talk, you'll realize you're in another. Or we can strategize the type of job and the type of career you might want to look at in the future. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a wonderful rest of the day. And I hope to see you on a future video.